You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel.
I am Clint. I'm still smiling because it's Florida week, and we
Still
hate
smiling.
Florida. And somebody else who hates Florida almost, I want to say just as much, and I'm going to go ahead and say just as much. Sarah's with us. We got the 3 boxes one more time. Sarah's back. If you don't know who she is, she's going to plug herself here in a moment, but she's one of our favorite follows over on Twitter. Find her at SarahG1561. Fantastic Twitter follow. She writes a great deal of sports. She knows her things. So guys, can I spare you the embarrassment? Please, if you're a male, please don't write this comment. Wow, this chick really knows her stuff. Just
They could be talking about you. I don't know who they're talking about. Could be me. Could be you guys. It's 2021.
This is why she's one of our favorite follows on Twitter. She is fantastic. Hey, we are Georgia fans. Sarah's a Georgia fan. Dan's a Georgia fan. This is Locked On Bulldogs here on Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So we're going to talk like fans, not like gurus or insiders by any stretch of the imagination, but have some fun. Don't take ourselves too seriously, nor each other. And I'm getting new nicknames left and right, and I'm going to take them. Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to at this point. They're being given to you, and so yeah, we're Georgia fans. That's what the podcast is. It's for fans by fans. While we do have delightful guests who are going to break down all aspects of the Georgia-Florida game for you, this is really just a place to talk about the Dogs and have a good time. As Clint said, not take ourselves too seriously. And so we'd love it if you would join us. If you are a Georgia fan, follow us on Twitter at Dogs Podcast. Send us an email, lockedonbulldogs@gmail.com. Hit up the audio podcast wherever podcasts can be found, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio podcast. And if you're listening on audio right now, head on over to the YouTube channel. Click that subscribe button for us and leave us a comment and a thumbs up. Just don't leave that one comment, but leave us any other comment or a thumbs up, and that'll be fantastic. So, all right, Sarah, let's jump in. It's first of all, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday? Is that accurate?
This is correct.
Anything happening tonight? Anybody know of any sports on television tonight? Anybody's going to be plugged into or anything of significance?
No, because if I say it out loud, then that somehow jinxes it. So no, I'm not aware of anything that's happening.
Even acknowledging that the game's being played somehow jinxes it.
Listen.
That's a fan. Just take notes. That's what a fan does. Okay.
I don't want that juju on me. You guys coming back saying that I was all stoked.
Yeah. All right, Sarah, let's talk about this Florida team. Clint and I on here yesterday talking about is Florida Kentucky 2.0 offensively? It's hard to say. They're running a 3 yards in a cloud of dust offensive system where they don't have any explosive plays. Everyone's rushing for 5 yards and under a carry. Emory Jones is passing for 7 yards an attempt. The ball is just, they're trying to slowly matriculate it down the field. How do you see this Florida offensive system matching? Nobody matches up against Georgia defensively. We know that. But how do you particularly see this game playing out, Florida offensively versus this Georgia defense?
Like you said, first of all, I mean, good luck with anyone that's trying to do anything offensively. Also an interesting thing, which, you know, there's been a lot of focus on our side about which quarterback will start. And I am not pulling at that thread. Not going to make me take that bait.
What? Yeah. You're not going to talk about the World Series and you're not going to give us Stetson versus JT?
UGA Twitter is already mad at me about that one. So I'm going to stick to the Florida side of it. And I think they're even more mad about their quarterback controversy.
Because it's a true controversy.
Yes.
Because we have 2 good ones.
Right.
And they have
1.5.
Yeah.
And so
tailbacks.
Yeah, and so Mullen, I guess, said at his last press conference, which, like, I mean, I just love listening to those because if you watch,
It's
I'll tweet it out. Actually, that's not even me hyping up my Twitter. I'll tweet it out because it's on Florida Twitter, and I don't want to have to send people to look at Florida Twitter. There's a great video of Mullen, like when he started. It's like when you watch the presidents get old, and there's a great video of Mullen, like each year, and like his press conferences is so bad. But anyway, he had one the other
and
day that he said he was
and
going to start.
one year he's just wearing a Darth Vader costume in the middle of the time lapse. Like he just shows up in a Darth Vader outfit.
Just like, how did they think that was going to go for them? But yeah, he said that he's planning on playing two quarterbacks, whether that's true or not, whether he's trying to, get in plan Kirby or something. But he said he's going to play two quarterbacks, and Florida Twitter is like firing him now for doing that. So I think that's going to be one interesting aspect. Is not only will Mullen be playing for his job, but at least one of the quarterbacks is going to feel like he's playing for his job. I think that they are going to have trouble with our coverage, like everyone does that, that tries to play us. I actually do think that when you said, are they Kentucky 2.0? I think that I think their pass game is a little bit better than Kentucky's. Kentucky's offensive line, I think, was like better than I thought it was going to be. I think it was the best one we'd faced.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think they're not as one-dimensional as Kentucky is, even though Kentucky did that one dimension pretty well, other than against us. But I think that like whether they're successful against us, I don't know. But I mean, we saw it a little bit with the a little bit with the Alabama game. That they can, they don't just have to run it. And so I don't think it'll be that successful, but I don't think that, like, especially with Mullen, I don't think they're going to be as like that predictable, that one dimensional. I think we'll cover it well. I just don't think that that's going to be the only thing that they do.
No, that's a spicy little caliente little nugget you threw in there. Mullen coaching for his job, which I don't disagree with. We just talked about yesterday how we've said on this podcast historically up until last year that Dan Mullen will never beat the University of Georgia as head coach, and then sure enough, he came out and did it. But now, what greater joy is there than to make him, like, the purpose of his being fired, in which case he'll never get a head coaching job again in his life. Like, just know that, okay? No. And it's not for a scandal. This isn't like Hugh Freeze, okay?
I mean, he'll be the coach at Tulane. Bowling Green will call. They'll want him back. They'll want him. Listen, that maybe he'll go replace Urban in the NFL. Who's to say? What's the you mentioned the passing game, Sarah, the Florida's passing game. Emory Jones obviously completing a decently high percentage of his passes. It's over 60%. We mentioned yesterday. Only just over 7 yards per attempt, though. Yep. So not really pushing the ball down the field. Not a ton of playmakers on the outside. Any of the wide receivers give you any pause on this Florida team? Does any of the playmakers, skill position guys? I mean, I know none of the running backs do. Like the two leading rushers on the team are the two quarterbacks, and so there's none of these running backs give you any. But do any of these receivers or skill position players make you nervous?
Honestly, not really. I was just looking at the numbers for that, who their top guy's been. It looks like that's Copeland. And he has like a pretty good, I mean, it's not, I think that we maybe, it's nothing like we're going to see that we saw last year. I mean, they don't have Trask, they don't have Pitts. I think the biggest issue for them is going to be like, I don't see that, which is the problem that everybody has, our guys getting open long enough, like, especially with their quarterback situation. Like, I was looking the other day, and we have our defensive line has, we are just limiting explosive plays, which they're going to need to try to gut us at all. We've allowed 14 plays, more than 20 yards, 13 passes and one run. And we've sacked 25 times. So we've sacked 11 times more than we've allowed 14 then we've allowed pass plays over 20 yards. So that's, I think that's going to be very difficult for you, like they said. Like if we limit their explosive pass plays, I mean, this is just, it's going to be very hard for them to move. I think that they're going to be successful because, like we said, that Mullen is coaching for his job. I don't know how much he over complicates it. Like he did that a little bit in the Alabama game, in the Kentucky game. I mean, they just had so many penalties, which I don't expect for this game. But like, there is a part of me that wonders if he's like getting in the Mullen lab and he's had a week off. And so he's just going to like, try all this stuff and it's actually going to like be too much, like almost, because that's one thing I will say, the difference between this defense. I mean, all of Kirby's defenses have been like this, but we're very like trying to trick us is not very successful. So, if I was Mullen, I would just stick with what I know, but execute it perfectly and hope it works. But I'm kind of hoping that he over schemes it a little bit because I think that, that he's trying to make up for not having the personnel he had last year. Because I think that will be unfortunate. So.
Yeah, trying to execute perfectly. You're right. We commented that, he's going to have to do these marches where he's going to get down the field where every single play, it's going to be these 14, 16 play drives. Because if he's not executing on 2nd down and 6, he's not setting himself up for 3rd down well. It's going to end poorly for him against this defense. Couldn't agree more. We're going to come back after this and ask Sarah some more questions about what she thinks. But first, we want to let you know about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a leader in college sports daily fantasy, offers more college football prop bets than anybody else in the world. Anything you can think of, which we can think of a lot. You've just given us free reign to pontificate about prop bets. Like, that's on you, Prize Picks. But they've given us that freedom to do so. Head over there right now, prizepicks.com. Put in the promo code Locked On. Get 100% up to $100 on the initial deposit. You put $100 in, use promo code Locked On, get $100 right on top of that. You, against the statistics, it is 10 times payout for 2 to 5 of the over-unders on any props you can think of. Daily fantasy entries are made on their award-winning app at the Google Play Store and the iOS Store, as well as prizepicks.com. One more time, prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On.
Also want to tell you about Rock Auto, the official auto parts sponsor of Locked On. It's the place that you should go to get all of the parts that your car will ever need. It is, in fact, the full mustache of auto parts dealers. Why would you ever go to a retail big box auto parts store where they're going to have some of the parts that your car might need when you can go to rockauto.com from the privacy of your own home, the comfort of your own computer, and order every part that your car will ever need. Have it shipped straight to your door. You'll get it at a reliably low price, and you'll be guaranteed that it's the exact right part because they have all the parts, and that means you're going to get the best deal. Go to rockauto.com right now, enter Locked On in the How'd You Hear About It section to get the absolute best price on the absolute best part for your car today. rockauto.com. All right, Sarah, let's switch sides of the ball. Let's move on over to the pathetic Georgia offense. Cannot move the ball.
I know.
It's
you guys
embarrassing,
saw the
really.
Clemson game?
Yeah,
it's embarrassing, really. We saw it. We were there. It was and including the Clemson game, we're only averaging 38.6 points per game. So it's embarrassing.
Right.
Poverty. Given the fact that nobody scored more than 13 against us, that seems high. Florida's defense, obviously, when you look at Florida's defense, it's almost 2 seasons of defense. You look at every game they played, and then you look at the most recent game they played against LSU. And so, what was that? I'm just going to ask you directly. What did I see? What was I watching? I'm not sure. LSU's not run the ball against anybody. They came into the game they were the 3rd worst in college football in rushing the ball.
No, I'm sorry. Not the SEC, Daniel.
No.
College football, and Broski came out there and rushed for 270 yards against Florida. What was that? And is that the Florida defense, or is that an anomaly?
The first thing that it was Todd Grantham, which I don't know if you're familiar with his work.
I'm sorry. Who's that?
He just
Is that
comes. She's
so?
delightful.
You're telling me
man, but
the whole game was played on third down? Is that what you're saying?
right, exactly.
The whole game?
No, I don't know if you're familiar with Todd's inability to adjust. So what happened was LSU just learned how to run counter, which most people do like day 2 of camp. And they just did that 1,000 times. I don't know if they broke it or which is fantastic. I hope they didn't break it, but they either threatened or broke the record for against Florida, the single rusher with the most yards. And who was that rusher? Well, it was good old Herschel Walker. So that's not a name you want to be records thrown around. That's a tough game.
Guy went out there and Herschel Walkered them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're missing. And also, I'd like to point out that it's the worst LSU team so far this season. They keep losing people. Like, it's the worst iteration of the LSU, the point that you made, I think, is actually a good one because, I don't know, putting my faith in Todd Grantham again is a mistake. But actually, before the LSU game, I didn't think that Florida's defense was horrendous. Like, it seemed like, I mean, they're still ranking, let's see, they had a pretty good run defense. I don't know what it was, but that was before they played LSU. So right. And so they were, they were in the top third of the SEC for run defense. I mean, it wasn't like what we saw on last Saturday. Or the Saturday before that, but I don't know if that means, are they gonna, in my mind, I'm thinking they're hopefully going to address that not for us, but during the bye week. So there is a part of me, I mean, as much as I do think we have a really good offense, I have not been totally overwhelmed with our rushing offense. But I'm not concerned really because I think passing Florida secondary is very bad and very bad.
Trey Dean called, and he turns out that scholarship was revoked. Young man, that was not a choice.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about it. I think we'll run enough. I don't think we're not going to have what LSU did. I think we're going to run enough to be able to pass, and I think with our tight ends and our receivers, we'll be fine. But I don't expect us to have like a 300-yard rushing day, which this is me setting it up so that we do. So I don't expect it. No, I really don't. But
I see. But we all get it. We all see what you're doing.
Wink, wink.
Exactly.
Okay.
3 steps.
So what you're saying is, if I hear you correctly, and just let me be clear, what you're saying is that Georgia could struggle to run the ball, maybe wouldn't have their biggest rushing day of the season, but that the passing attack led by the obvious starter at quarterback, who everyone knows should be the starter, whose name was?
Fine, I'll just do it. I think that we should start JT. I don't like.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I hate Stetson Bennett.
Why do you hate Stetson Bennett so much?
If I say the words JT Daniels, I have people in my mentions that are like, "Oh, well, he's worked for." I'm like, I have nothing against him. He's a wonderful person. Like,
you want him to fail and never get a college degree and go on to just be a bum. Good for you.
If I say I would prefer us to start JT Daniels, when you say it out loud, it apparently comes out as I want someone to hit Stetson Bennett with a bus, which is not what I said.
That ain't happened to one of our players. Don't do that again, okay?
That's not too soon. Do I think that we're going to be able to come out and run counter the whole game and gain 700 yards offensively against Florida? No, I don't. I do think they're going to clean that up in the bye week. But your point is well taken. You're not going to fix Todd Grantham in the bye week, okay? And listen, everyone's tried. Everyone has tried, okay?
Literally.
It's not Mark Richt can't do it, and he's out here talking people off of a bridge. Like, there's no one can do it.
Just let that sink in for a moment, okay? Just like
okay. You can't fix that, and so I come back to the reality. I mean, I would ask if I'm crazy, but I already know the answer. It doesn't matter. We have Todd Monken, right? Does Todd Monken know how to make some adjustments in the game? Is Todd Monken going to work with the personnel that he's given? We talked about last week on the show with Brooks Austin. We talked about the one thing that makes Todd Monken special is his ability to be multiple and his ability to adapt. Georgia is no longer trying to do things the Georgia way, which means we're going to run the ball this many times, no matter what happens. We're going to try to break your will, Kirby Smart football. With Todd Monken at the helm, we're going to take what the defense gives us, and Grantham's going to give us something, and Todd's going to find it. And then when he finds it, Grantham's not going to be able to give it back, to stop giving it to us. He's not going to be able to take it back,
because his
which gives me all the confidence.
Flawed on so many levels. You know, like that's the point you're saying, Sarah. Is you look at this Todd Grantham team, and who knows if they are skilled? They're kind of mediocre, which is fine if you have a good offense to go with it, but they don't. So they're going to be exposed, and Todd's going to find the pressure point and just start screwing down the points. It's going to be awesome to see.
And the other point that when you're saying about how, and I don't know if Brooks talked about this, but he probably did because he knows way more than I do. But the other thing about,
I mean, he's Brooks. He probably talked about everything. Who cares?
The other thing about Todd Monken, which goes back to the bait question that I took about the quarterbacks, was the other thing that's really, and this is what I did tweet about and sort of made peace with everyone, was the thing about Todd Monken that's different, I think, is not only does he adjust to, like you said, what the defense gives him, which is of course what every good offensive coordinator does. He also adjusts the players that he has, and he sets up our players to be successful. So I'm not actually, my personal preference, although I don't watch them every day in practice, so I'm good to go with what the coaches want to do, would be JT Daniels. But if Stetson Bennett starts, that's fine. I know he's going to be successful because Todd Monken knows how to make his players successful, which is something we didn't have, like with a Jake Fromm situation and Coley. Like I think that that's like, I'm not worried about that. And to your point about Todd, about the game and adjustments, I think that it's going to look, and also just because it is Georgia, Florida, like it's not going to be like, I mean, even when we are really, there's going to be some fight in there. Like, I think it's going to be like, we're going to feel good for the first half, but it'll still be close. And then I think it gets away in the second half. But I think it's going to, it's still Georgia, Florida.
Ooh, we're going to come back after this. I'm going to start. I'm going to come out hot with a question.
Going to push on that a little bit.
We're going to see how much that pressure cooker is there. But first, I want to let you know about Sweat Block. Sweat Block is a fantastic product. Sweat Block wipes are this amazing product that you put on and it lasts 7 days. You apply it one time after you shower or bathe, and it has a dry shirt guarantee. What does that mean? Well, it's pretty simple. It means your shirt stays dry the entire time, Daniel. That's
interesting.
It's interesting.
I would have never guessed that.
What Todd Grantham, I know. I understand. What Todd Grantham is to giving up points, Sweat Block is to stopping your pores from staining your shirt all over the place.
Nailed it.
There are a bunch of people who have tried this. There's a Hollywood producer that worked on the set of Marvel that has tried Sweat Block. I know, Daniel.
Not just Rachel Ray, you're saying. You're saying it's
no,
others.
Rachel Ray firefighters, good combo. What about the Hulk, Captain America, and this producer using them? She even reports that one of the actors uses it as well to stay dry on the set for 18 hours. It stops excessive sweat up to 7 days. It's doctor created, doctor recommended, dry shirt guarantee. No, not just for armpits. Put that on your chest, back, feet, hands. Use it anywhere the sweats get. If someone you love or yourself has a problem with this, head over right now to sweatblock.com and use promo code locked on and get 20% off your entire order. That's sweatblock.com, promo code locked on for 20% off your entire order. Okay, here's my question then. If you're saying we're going to keep this thing close, okay, and we're just going to come out here and maybe get ahead in the second half. Sarah, the point total right now, the line for this game is 14.
Going to get here.
14 points. Okay?
Okay.
14 points.
It's up to 14 and a half, but that's okay.
We told people yesterday on the pod, get on this right now. Find that 14, lock it in. Give an early lock out. So come back for Thursday to see if there's more locks. What do you think about that spread?
I think we cover.
Okay.
But I will say I have given that advice every single week. So far, I've been right.
And you're
5 times? Yeah, they've covered 5
5 and
times.
2.
So, I mean, here's an
5-2. One of those was Mark Stoops. So
right, which by the way,
one of the missed covers.
A hot take. Yeah. Hot take. I do not fault him for doing that. So at all.
We don't either.
Yeah, I think anyone does that's ridiculous. But anyway, I think it will feel a little bit like the Kentucky game though, in that I mean, maybe a little bit different, but like if we went into the half only up by a score, but in this day and age with the Georgia defense only being up by a score is like being up by 21
domination,
points. Right? So because you just know they can't score fast enough, like. So I kind of see it like that. Like I don't think we're going to go into the half covering, but I think eventually we will cover. And but you know, it might take all the way to the fourth quarter. But I think that it will happen.
To win by double digits in a huge rivalry game. Shucks.
I know. Again. And I think a large part of that, to be honest with you, is like I mean, I know that, like I said, that Mullen is coaching for his job. But like their season is over and it's been over and they're very unhappy and there's a lot of chaos and we're the last stop of any meeting to their season, which, you know, could take that either way. That maybe that means they play up. I happen to think based on how they have been playing when things are not good, like the penalties and they just looked unprepared against LSU is ridiculous. Ooh. There's no reason they should have lost that game. I mean, I loved it, of course, but I just don't see that being fixed. Like, I mean, these guys, their season is over already. And so I think and we're the exact opposite. And we lost last year. And this seems like a team that really takes that personally, a Georgia team. So I just see
revenge tour.
Yeah. Kirby is a revenge tour guy. So I just see those
100%
motivations being different there. So.
I think you're just soaking it in, Clint. I just
went for about 3 seconds as Sarah was talking. I just went to the picture of Kirby on the sideline looking at Dan across the way and just like seething with anger. And I'm here for the whole thing.
I know.
You went to the Monk's Retreat is where you went. You went to that Todd Monken waterfall. That's where
waterfall just splashing.
We mentioned yesterday, Sarah, on the pods, and the more I think about this, the more I feel like this is true in this game. Not just in this game for the season. This is Georgia, Florida, as you mentioned. It's Jacksonville. Things are weird. Dan Mullen's coaching for his job. Florida team might come out hungry. They got nothing else to play for. We're the Super Bowl. Obviously, we're Florida fans Super Bowl every year. We know that because of the mentions. But now we're Florida players Super Bowl as well. This is all they got. It's the only thing they have. Spoil the number one team season. But what indication has this Georgia team given you this year that they're going to stoop to the level of their competition? There's just every team this season, they have just come out and taken care of business. There has been no sign, no indication whatsoever that this team is going to play down, that this team is going to be undisciplined, that this team is going to make silly mistakes, that this team is going to get caught up in the heat of a moment, that this team is going to do anything but let hype and build up and magnitude of a game do anything but propel them to play better and not worse, unlike many Georgia teams that you and I have watched in the past. And so that gives me all the confidence in the world, I think, going into this game. Again, I'm just going to stick with the narrative till I'm proven wrong. This season is different, Georgia fans. We said it last time you were on the pod. This season is different. And part of that includes this might be Jacksonville, but we're very good. And they're very bad. And very good teams beat very bad teams on neutral sites. And they beat them comfortably. And so I can't see this game going any other way.
And what you're saying too about them playing disciplined, I think that that's easy for us to see as Georgia fans. Like, I think that that's, we just don't have letdown games. That's not the kind of team this is. So I was just kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys follow Mike Golick Jr. He's a hilarious follow on Twitter. And he tweeted about it, which I feel like when it's national, they're obviously not following the length of Georgia teams as much as we are. And so I think we had already kind of realized that, but that to me kind of confirmed it. he tweeted something basically like, to this Georgia defense, like offenses are truly like every team they play is just like nameless and faceless. And what he meant was like, in the NFL, like your goal is to like, you don't, you refer to them as a number. Like these guys you're not supposed to like think about the fact that you're playing some dudes across from you. He's like, inevitably you say that and like that's how you train and like that's you're just like you're not going to be intimidated by anyone on the field. You're not thinking about it. It's just you come out and play like you're playing to beat, that you're just executing. And he was like, you say that, but obviously it slips in. He's like, I can tell by the way they play that it's just like, it's truly just like they have no change in based on who they play. And that's so true. Like I heard Kirby was saying, like the big phrase is we're not playing, training to beat somebody or training to beat everybody. And it does feel like we play that way. Like we are playing not like we're playing Kentucky, not like we're playing South Carolina, not like we're playing a chaotic Florida team. We play the same way every game, which is obviously intentional and how you want to play. So I'm with you on that for sure. I think really the variable is not us, it's them. In terms of how close it is. I think how much, like I said, is it going to be, we don't care anymore. Our season's over. Our locker room is chaotic. Our quarterbacks are fighting, whatever. And so they just come out sloppy. Or is it, this is our last chance and that we're going to fight. Like Kentucky had a fight in them. I was actually kind of impressed by that. Like they had fight and discipline with it in them till the end. And it sounds like they died. But I don't know. Like,
Did they though?
Right. But I think of all the teams that we played, like they knew they were getting crushed and they still didn't fall apart. I can't decide with Florida. Like I can't. And part of the reason is what you said. Like we saw them against Alabama, but we also saw them against LSU. So I have no idea which team we're going to see. Yeah. I know which Georgia team I'm going to see. I just don't know exactly which Florida team. And neither does Dan Mullen, clearly.
Yeah. Florida is that college roommate that you invite back for Thanksgiving dinner 10 years later, and you have no clue. Are they going to be like they were in college, or are they going to be adult all of a sudden?
Right.
And you're like, well, let's buckle up. Hold on to your butts. Who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
Sarah, tell the people where they can find you and what you do for football-wise talking and writing.
Yes, and tell them why you hate Stetson Bennett so much.
I love Stetson Bennett. Yeah, I'm gonna get people who are just gonna like follow me just to say that and then come back. Love Stetson Bennett. I think he's fantastic. He's done everything that's ever been asked of him in this program, and he should be respected as such. Wow. There you go. I have a quick soundbite for that now.
Sarah, don't feel bad. He does this to me all the time. He puts words in my mouth, and it's just he's an instigator. Don't mind him.
Oh, that's good. That's what this job is. So yes, easiest place to find me is on Twitter at SarahG1561. Also, great place to find me if you want to follow along with me melting down at the Braves. I also write for dogsports.com. Awesome SB Nation website, but I post all that on Twitter too. But obviously follow all the guys that follow Dog Sports. They're great Twitter. And I do stuff like this. And I do Dog Sports Live as well. Yeah. So sorry, competition. But so it's I have a blast with everybody. So nobody can do two moron fans quite like Daniel and I do. So
there's no competition. We've cornered the market on the demographic we're going for. So we're very comfortable.
And Daniel, I don't know if you know this, but we now pro bono legal representation for sure. From Sarah. So
it's funny that you mentioned that because I might have another legal representation coming on the podcast later this week. So we got options. I'm just saying
lawyers cannot stay away from sports Twitter. We have a problem. I don't understand it. It's really pathetic. Like, why did all of us go to law school just to sit on Twitter all day and talk about sports? I'm not sure. But that's what happens.
Can confirm that that's true. So this will be our second lawyer of the week coming up later. So stay tuned for that. Go follow Sarah. And like she said, all the guys over at Dog Sports, which they are all great follows. And come back tomorrow and join us. Clint and I will be back, I think with another guest in tow. So we'll see what happens. But join us then. Florida game's coming up. Go Braves. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.